Well, I've been thinking about something lately. I'm sitting here in my office in Omaha, same office I've had for decades, nothing fancy. And I keep getting asked this question by young people. They say, Warren, what's the secret? How do I stop being broke? And I always chuckle a little bit because there really isn't a secret, you see. It's more like, well, it's more like a series of very simple things that most people just won't do. Not because they're hard, mind you, no, but because they're boring. And people, they want excitement. They want the lottery ticket. But let me tell you something. I'm 94 years old now, and I've seen a lot in my time. I've seen bull markets and bear markets. I've seen fortunes made and fortunes lost. And the funny thing is the people who built real wealth, they were doing the same boring things over and over again for decades. You know what I mean? See, when I was a kid, I delivered newspapers, 500 papers actually, and I saved every nickel I could. People thought I was cheap. Maybe I was, but I knew something even then. I knew that, well, money had this magical quality to it. If you kept it, if you didn't spend it on silly things, it could multiply. That's compounding, you see. Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. I don't know if he really said that, but it doesn't matter, because it's true anyway. Let me paint you a picture here. Imagine you're 25 years old. You take just $10, and you put it somewhere safe, somewhere it can grow at, say, 10% a year. You don't touch it. You don't peek at it every day. You just let it sit there. By the time you're 94 like me, that $10 becomes over $13,000 from $10. Now, that's not going to make you rich, obviously, but that's just $10, you see. Imagine if you did that with $100 every month, or $1,000. The math gets pretty exciting pretty fast. But here's the thing, and this is important. Most people won't do it. They'll take that $10 and buy something they don't need, a fancy coffee, a new gadget, whatever's trendy that week. And that's fine, you know. Everyone deserves a little pleasure. But if you do that every time, if you never save anything, well, you're going to stay exactly where you are. I learned this from my father, actually. My dad was a stockbroker during the Depression. He saw people lose everything because they didn't understand this basic principle. He told me once, he said, Warren, don't spend what you don't have. Don't borrow unless you absolutely must. And always, always pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. That's a phrase I've used for 70 years now. What it means is simple. Before you pay your rent, before you buy groceries, before you do anything else, you take a portion of what you earn and you put it away. You invest it. You save it. You make it work for you. Most people do it backwards, you see. They pay everyone else first. The landlord, the credit card company, the car loan, and then whatever's left over, if anything, they might save. But usually there's nothing left. So they save nothing, and they wonder why they're not getting ahead. Well, if you're always at the bottom of your own priority list, how can you expect to build wealth? You know, I still live in the same house I bought in 1958. Cost me $31,500. People think that's crazy. They say, Warren, you're one of the richest men in the world. Why don't you buy a mansion? Why don't you live like a billionaire? And I tell them, I am living like a billionaire, my billionaire. See, I don't need a big house. I don't need 10 cars. I don't need a yacht. Those things don't make me happy. What makes me happy is, well, it's freedom, financial freedom, the freedom to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And you can't have that freedom if you're drowning in debt. If you're spending every dollar you make, or worse, spending dollars you don't even have. Yet you're a prisoner. You're working for your stuff instead of your stuff working for you. Let me tell you a story about my friend Charlie Munger. Charlie passed away not too long ago, and I miss him every day. Charlie was, well, he was brilliant, one of the smartest men I ever knew. And you know what Charlie used to say? He'd say, "Warren, the big money is not in the buying and selling, it's in the waiting." The waiting. That's the part nobody wants to hear. Because waiting is boring. It's not sexy. You can't brag about it at parties. Hey, guess what I did this week? Nothing. I just let my investment sit there. People laugh at that, but you know what? While they're laughing and day trading and chasing the hot stock of the week, I'm getting richer in my sleep. Because I'm not doing anything. I'm just waiting, letting compound interest do its thing. See, most investors, most people really, they have no patience. They want results now. They see a stock go down 5% and they panic, they sell. They see another stock going up and they jump in, usually right before it crashes. They're like a farmer who plants corn in the morning and digs it up in the afternoon to see if it's growing. You can't build wealth that way. You just can't. I remember back in 2008, 2009, the financial crisis. The world was falling apart, or at least it felt like it. People were terrified. The stock market was cut in half, and everyone was selling. They were panicking. They were sure it was the end. And you know what I did? I bought. I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. I said, "Buy American. I am." And people thought I was nuts. They thought I'd lost my mind. But I hadn't lost anything. I just understood something they didn't. I understood that, well, fear is the enemy of wealth. When everyone's scared, that's when the opportunities appear. That's when things go on sale. You see, the stock market, it's like a store. Sometimes things are expensive, sometimes they're cheap. Most people, they do the opposite of what they should do. When prices are high, they get excited and they buy. When prices are low, they get scared and they sell. That's backwards. You want to buy when things are cheap and sell when they're expensive. Or better yet, and this is what I prefer, you just buy and you never sell. You find wonderful companies, businesses that make money year after year, and you hold on to them forever if you can. People ask me, "Warren, when's the best time to sell?" And I say, never. If you pick the right business, why would you sell it? Would you sell a goose that lays golden eggs just because someone offered you a good price? No. You'd keep that goose for life. Now, I'm not saying you should never sell anything. Sometimes you make a mistake. Sometimes the business changes. Sometimes you need the money for something important. But as a general rule, if you're constantly buying and selling, you're not investing, you're speculating. And speculation is not how you build wealth, it's how you lose it. Let me talk about something else for a minute. Something I think is even more important than investing, and that's investing in yourself. You know, the best investment I ever made wasn't Coca-Cola or Apple or any stock. The best investment I ever made was in my own education, my own skills. When I was young, I was terrified of public speaking, absolutely terrified. I would shake, I would sweat, I couldn't do it. So I took a Dale Carnegie course. Cost me $100, which was a lot of money back then. And you know what? That $100, that might be worth $10 million to me today, maybe more. Because learning how to communicate, learning how to express my ideas clearly, that skill has been invaluable. It opened doors, it built relationships, it made everything else possible. See, you can't put a price on knowledge. You can't put a price on skills. They can't be taxed, they can't be stolen, they can never be taken away from you. And they compound just like money does, maybe even faster. Every book you read, every skill you learn, every wise person you talk to, it all adds up. It all builds on itself. And over time, you become you become more valuable to yourself, to others, to the marketplace. I still read 5-6 hours a day. People ask me what my secret is, and I tell them, read. That's it. Read everything you can. Read annual reports. Read biographies. Read history. Read about businesses and people and ideas. Fill your mind with useful knowledge. Because here's the thing, the world rewards value. If you can provide value, if you can solve problems, if you can make people's lives better, if you can create something useful, you will never be poor. You might start poor, sure, but you won't stay poor. I grew up during the Depression, you know. We didn't have much. But I never felt poor because I had something more valuable than money. I had curiosity. I had drive. I had this burning desire to understand how things worked, how businesses made money, how the world operated. And I'll tell you something, that desire, that curiosity, it's worth more than gold. Because once you understand how money works, once you understand how wealth is built, you can't unsee it. It's like learning to read. Once you know forever. Now let me talk about something that might surprise you. Something I think is absolutely critical if you want to build wealth. And that's, well, it's who you spend your time with. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I didn't come up with that phrase, but it's true. If you're spending your time with people who are broke, who have bad habits, who don't value money or education or hard work, you're probably going to end up the same way. But if you surround yourself with people who are smart, who are ambitious, who are building something, well, you're going to rise to that level. You can't help it. It's human nature. Charlie Munger was one of those people for me. Every conversation with Charlie made me smarter. He'd challenge my ideas. He'd point out my blind spots. He'd make me think harder. And over 50+ years of friendship, I became a better investor, a better thinker, a better person because of him. You don't need 5 brilliant friends. You might not even need one. But you need to be careful about who you let into your inner circle. Because those people, whether you realize it or not, they're shaping you. They're influencing your decisions, your beliefs, your habits. And habits, that's another thing I want to talk about. Because honestly, I think your daily habits matter more than anything else. More than your job, more than your education, more than your starting point in life. You show me someone's daily habits, and I'll tell you where they're going to be in 10 years. It's that simple. When I was young, I developed a habit of saving. Every dollar I made, I saved a portion. Didn't matter if it was from delivering papers or mowing lawns or whatever. I saved it. And that habit, it became automatic. I didn't have to think about it anymore. It was just what I did. Same thing with reading. I developed a habit of reading every day. Rain or shine, busy or not, I read. And now, 70-some years later, I'm still doing it. It's not hard anymore. It's not a chore. It's just who I am. See, that's the power of habits. Once they're established, they run on autopilot. You don't need willpower anymore. You don't need motivation. You just do it because it's what you do. But here's the tricky part. Bad habits work the same way. If you develop a habit of spending every dollar you make, that becomes automatic too. If you develop a habit of eating junk food, or watching TV all evening, or scrolling on your phone for hours, those habits compound too, but in the wrong direction. So you have to be intentional about it. You have to choose your habits carefully, because your habits are building your future, one day at a time. And you can't see it happening, it's too slow, but over years and decades, your habits become your destiny. I remember when I started Berkshire Hathaway, people don't realize this, but Berkshire was a failing textile mill when I bought it. It was a terrible business, actually. I made a mistake buying it. I've admitted that many times. But you know what I learned from that mistake? I learned what makes a good business versus a bad business. I learned that some businesses, no matter how hard you work, they're never going to be great. They're in declining industries, they have too much competition, the economics just don't work. And I learned that, well, I'd rather own a wonderful business at a fair price than a fair business at a wonderful price. That sounds simple, but it took me years to really understand it. Charlie was the one who taught me that, actually. Before Charlie, I was buying cheap stocks, cigar butts we called them. Businesses that were almost dead, but had one puff left in them. And you could make money doing that, sure, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't elegant. And more importantly, it didn't compound the way great businesses do. Because a great business just keeps getting better, it keeps making more money, it keeps growing. You don't have to do anything. You just hold on and let it do its thing. That's what I mean by compounding. It's not just about the money you save. It's about the businesses you own, the skills you develop, the relationships you build. Everything compounds if you give it time. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Warren, that's easy for you to say. You started with more than I have. You had advantages. And well, maybe that's true. I had a good family. I had access to education. I was lucky in a lot of ways. But I'll tell you this, I also knew plenty of people who had more advantages than me and ended up with nothing. And I've known people who started with nothing, absolutely nothing, and built fortunes. The difference wasn't luck, it was habits, it was patience, It was discipline. See, you don't need to be a genius to build wealth. I'm not a genius. I'm really not. I just do a few simple things, and I do them consistently for a very long time. That's it. That's the whole secret, if you want to call it a secret. Here's another thing I've noticed over the years. Rich people think differently about money than poor people do. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I just mean the mindset is different. Poor people see money as something to spend. They work, they get paid, they spend it, and then they go back to work. It's a cycle. They're trading their time for money, and then they're trading that money for stuff. And at the end of the month, they have stuff, but no money. Rich people see money as something to invest. They work, they get paid, they invest it, and then that investment makes more money. So they're not trading time for money anymore. They're building a machine that makes money for them. And over time, that machine gets bigger and bigger until they don't need to work at all if they don't want to. That's financial freedom. That's what everyone should be aiming for. Not a fancy car or a big house. Those are just expensive burdens. No, what you want is freedom. The freedom to say no to things you don't want to do, the freedom to say yes to things you do want to do, and the only way to get that freedom is to build that machine. You build it $1 at a time, one investment at a time, one good decision at a time, and you protect it. You don't let it get eaten away by debt or taxes or stupid purchases. You know, people always ask me about debt. They say, "Warren, is debt always bad?" And the answer is, well, it's complicated. Some debt is okay. If you borrow money to buy a house that you can afford and you're getting a reasonable interest rate, that's probably fine. If you borrow money to start a business that has real potential, that might be okay too. But consumer debt, credit cards, car loans for cars you can't afford, borrowing money to buy stuff you don't need, that's poison. That's the opposite of compounding. Because now you're not just failing to save, you're actually going backwards. You're paying interest on top of the purchase price. You're making someone else rich while you get poorer. I've never borrowed money to buy a car. Never. I've always paid cash. And I've never bought a car I couldn't easily afford. My current car is, I think it's 10 years old now, maybe older. It runs fine. It gets me where I need to go. Why would I buy a new one? People think I'm cheap, and maybe I am, but I prefer to think of it as sensible. Every dollar I don't spend on a car is a dollar I can invest, and that dollar over time becomes $2, then $4, then $8. So by not buying that new car, I'm actually making myself richer. See, that's the choice you're always making. Every time you spend money, you're choosing between having that thing now or having wealth later. And most people choose the thing. They choose immediate gratification over long-term security. And I understand why. I really do. It's hard to delay gratification. It's hard to save money when everyone around you is spending. It's hard to be patient when the world is telling you to live for today. Enjoy yourself. You only live once. But that's exactly why most people stay poor. Because they do what's easy in the moment, and they ignore what's easy in the long run. You know what's easy? Being financially free at 60. Having enough money that you never have to worry again. That's easy if you start young and you stay disciplined. But most people never get there because they choose what's easy today instead of what's easy tomorrow. I remember reading something once. It said, "You can have anything you want in life, you just can't have everything you want." And that's true. You have to make choices. You have to prioritize. You have to decide what's really important to you. For me, what was important was freedom, independence, not having to answer to anyone. And I was willing to sacrifice a lot of short-term pleasures to get that. I lived in a small apartment for years. I drove old cars. I didn't take fancy vacations. And you know what? I don't regret any of it. Because now I have something most people will never have. I have complete freedom. I can do what I want when I want. I don't have to work if I don't want to, though I do want to because I love what I do. I don't have to answer to a boss or worry about paying bills or wonder if I'll have enough for retirement. And that freedom, that's worth more than any car or house or vacation could ever be worth. So if I could give you one piece of advice, one thing to take away from all this rambling, it would be this. Start building your freedom today, right now, this moment. Take 10% of whatever you earn, or 20% if you can manage it, and put it somewhere safe, somewhere it can grow. Open a retirement account. Buy index funds. Invest in yourself. Just don't spend it. Don't touch it. Let it sit there and compound. Do that for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and your life will be completely different. You won't be rich overnight. You won't be able to quit your job next year, but you will be building something. You will be moving in the right direction. And that's all you need to do. Just move in the right direction, consistently, for a long time. Don't get distracted by get-rich-quick schemes. Don't try to time the market. Don't chase the hot stock or the crypto craze or whatever everyone's talking about. Just do the boring stuff. Save, invest, learn, be patient. I know this isn't exciting advice. I know it's not what you want to hear. Everyone wants the secret formula, the hidden trick, the shortcut. But there is no shortcut. There's just time and discipline and compound interest. That's it. That's the whole game. You know, I think about my life sometimes. I'm 94 years old. I've lived a long time. I've made a lot of money, more than I ever thought possible when I was a kid delivering papers in Omaha. And people think that money must have made my life so much better. They think I must be so much happier than everyone else. But the truth is, the money didn't change me much. I was happy before I was rich, and I'm happy now. The money gave me security, sure, it gave me freedom, but it didn't make me a different person. It didn't solve all my problems or make life perfect. What made me happy, what's always made me happy, is the process, the learning, the puzzle solving, the challenge of understanding businesses and making good decisions. That's what I love. The money is just, well, it's just a way of keeping score. And I think that's important to understand. Money is a tool. It's not the goal. The goal is to live a good life, to do meaningful work, to build relationships, to learn and grow. Money can help with all of that. It can remove obstacles and create opportunities. But money by itself won't make you happy. If you're miserable and you get rich, you'll just be a rich, miserable person. So as you're building wealth, and I hope you do, don't forget to build the other parts of your life too. Invest in your relationships. Invest in your health. Invest in experiences and memories and the things that actually matter. Because at the end of the day, when I look back on my 94 years, you know what I remember? I remember the people. I remember Charlie. I remember my wife Susie. I remember conversations and laughs and moments of insight. I don't remember stock prices or quarterly earnings or any of that stuff. So yes, build wealth, absolutely. It's worth doing. But build a life too. Well, I think I've been rambling long enough here. If you've stuck with me this long, I appreciate it. I hope some of this has been helpful. I hope you'll take something away from it and actually use it. Because here's the thing I want you to understand, and this is really important. It is possible to go from poor to wealthy in one lifetime. I've seen it happen countless times, and it's not just possible, it's almost inevitable if you follow the principles I've been talking about. Save a portion of what you earn. Invest it wisely. Let it compound. Don't touch it. Be patient. Stay disciplined. Keep learning. Surround yourself with good people. Avoid debt. Live below your means. Do those things, really do them, consistently for decades, and you will not stay poor. You might not become a billionaire, you might not end up on the Forbes list, but you will be financially secure. You will have freedom, you will have options, and that's what this is all about. It's about having options. It's about not being trapped. It's about being able to make choices based on what you want, not based on what you can afford. You know, someone once asked me what my biggest fear was, and I said, not being able to do what I love. That was always my fear, that I'd end up in a job I hated, working for someone I didn't respect, doing something meaningless. And that's why I've always been so careful with money, because money, or really the lack of it, that's what traps people. That's what keeps them stuck in jobs they hate, in situations they don't want to be in. But if you have money, if you have savings, if you have investments, you have options. You can say no. You can walk away. You can take risks. You can pursue opportunities that might not pay off immediately, but could be amazing in the long run. That's freedom. That's what I've been trying to build my whole life. And that's what I hope you'll build too. So, go do it. Start today. Start now. Open that savings account. Make that first investment. Read that book. Take that course. Whatever it is, just start. Because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And the journey to wealth begins with a single dollar saved. Thank you for listening to an old man ramble. I hope I've given you something useful, and I hope you'll prove me right. I hope you'll show that it really is impossible to remain poor if you do these things every day. Because it is impossible. I've seen it too many times. I've lived it myself. You can do this. I believe in you. Now go make it happen.